So there was a moment recently where I realized that I was really fully afraid to reject a man I had honestly just met a little bit earlier and only went on a couple dates with. And it wasn't because I didn't want to hurt his feelings, because I have since decentered men and I kind of don't care anymore about their feelings, especially not in the beginning. Just no, I'm done being the nice girl. But it was because he knows where I live. Yeah. And that's really new for me. And I haven't been able to shake this feeling since. On today's episode, I want to talk about the Rape Academy and some of the implications for that. And the news that kind of coincided with it is all these various Black women who've been unalived by the people who were supposed to protect them the most: their husbands, their fiancés, boyfriends, fathers, and sons. It's been a hell of a time in the past 2 or 3 weeks to be a Black woman and just sense our vulnerability in the world already, but especially with the people we trust the most. It's really a debilitating feeling, and it hit closer to home for me than usual. But before we talk about all that, let me just introduce myself quickly. My name is Grace Sander. I'm a writer, author, activist, advocate, mom, and a podcaster. And you are watching the Out Here Trying to Survive podcast, which is a hope-oriented storytelling space, a warm hug of solidarity from me to you and all Black women and all the things we're out here trying to survive and hopefully, prayerfully thrive through. Welcome to episode 51. But first, let me tell y'all a story. So yeah, y'all, I don't usually have men over my place at all, in part because I've said so many times. I'm just going to tell y'all again, I am kind of a messy, unorganized person, and I don't love having men over to my place, in part because of that. Also, I have 3 children. I have shared custody. You know, they go back and forth. It just doesn't seem to work out. It just always works better to meet a man either at his place after I trust him or out in public. It's just very rare that I have a new person. I literally can't, outside of this story I'm about to tell y'all, I literally have not had a new person here in probably 3 years in any dating scenario. So the only people who ever get over here are men I know and trust, who are friends of the family, or who I've dated or known for a really long time. So in this instance, I really let my guard down, and I have regret, y'all. So anyway, I let this man come over my house. I cooked dinner. You know, we had a nice time. There was just a few things. I won't go into all of that because it's just not the point of this. But there's just a few things I was just like, yes, this ain't gonna work. In any other circumstance, I would have just the next day, after a second date, 2 dates within a week's time, I would have just said, hey, it was nice knowing you, but I'm just not interested. I hope you have a nice life. In this instance, I didn't feel like I wanted to be friends, so I would have just said, I'm not interested in further communication, but I wish you the best, which is, my typical. I don't typically ghost unless a man does something completely egregious. I don't ghost. I'll just let him know I'm not interested. But the next day, after I realized I'm not interested, I paused on sending him that message because I thought, what if he does some sort of retribution, because he knows where I live? What if he's pissed and then he shows up here? And it was a kind of a sad feeling because I had so much regret about having him over, and I felt like, damn, we're at this place in the timeline right now where that was my biggest mistake. So there was a lot of hesitation, and I marinated on it for 2 or 3 days. And I was going to just at some point just block him. But I was like, no, I need to know if he's angry. I need to know if he's crashing out. So I don't want to block him. I want to know if he's going to end up at my doorstep pissed because I rejected him. I realized something that really kind of scared me and really made me really sad about this. And that's that I don't feel like I trust any men anymore at all. And that's not what my default position is. If you've been listening to my podcast for a while, you might be like, haven't you been in the process of decentering men for a while? Yes, I have. But I haven't been just a blanket, I don't trust none of them at all, no clean slate. I have kind of been on this tip of I meet a new guy and kind of have an openness to him being a normal functioning human, especially because if I get to the point where I'm meeting them in person, I've already had some sort of feeling. I'm trying to always listen to my body. But what I realize is that hearing this news and everything that has come out about the Rape Academy and just the enormity, I don't think we have really considered the enormity of 62 million visits to that website that is teaching men and them commiserating together in a community how to rape and assault their fiancés and girlfriends and wives and film it and let other men come in and do it. The enormity of 62 million visits in February and I believe 81 million visits in March. The enormity of the precious lives of Black women who were taken recently and how often Black women are unalived by the people in their life that are supposed to protect them. The enormity of it all hit me in a new way. And especially when I really thought about the fact that that's the case for me too. The people who have been the most violent to me. My dad, who was a Black man, also sexually assaulted me for 10 years. And my brother, who was a white man, was really racially abusive and emotionally abusive and sometimes physically abusive while we were growing up. I ended up marrying a Black man who was very psychologically and verbally and narcissistically abusive in a way that was extremely traumatizing for me. I was also date raped by a man a long time ago. And I had a boyfriend who in 2021 or 2022, I can't remember the year, who really went on and on and on and on about how much he loved me. And when I continued to reject him and let him know I don't want him anymore, he ended up choking me out 7 times, beating me up that night. That's enough examples for just one woman. I'm just one woman that has experienced like extreme violence from the people, the men in my life who were supposed to love me and protect me on some level. And so when I thought about like close to home, I had already decided, and I have already pretty much decided I'm never going to get married again. I don't trust another man enough. I've been married twice. In my first marriage, I've told y'all before, I've dealt with so many things with him that I'm not going to say here, but I am never, ever, ever going to take that step. But I think hearing this news put me on another level of like, can I do this anymore where I'm just willy-nilly out here? Sometimes, I mean, I haven't been on dating apps for a while, but I did just get on them in the past couple weeks, mostly out of curiosity and also because I kind of wanted to look, let me see if I can find me a nice little friends with benefits situation. It just made me rethink that strategy. Like, is it even safe to be kind of out here willy-nilly just on dating apps? Is it safe at all to be out here like meeting up with men at a bar or a club or a bowling alley or a putt-putt golf place on Saturday at 12 noon to just allow them into our lives at all? I didn't have that thought before. I had a thought of, I don't know if I can marry y'all. I don't know if I can ever do that again. I've had a thought of, I don't know if I ever want a boyfriend again. I don't know if I ever want a man to like physically live in my home ever again, to live with me. I don't know if I ever want to share space ever again. But something moved to, y'all are so patently violent and terrible. I don't know if I can even give you a clean slate. So like meeting up with a guy for a couple times, I had this horrible feeling. It's terrible because I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. But I was just like, I wonder if you'd kill me. I wonder what kind of violence you're capable of. Ugh, that's a sad feeling. That's not something I've typically thought on a second date before. This news has hit me in a way that feels really overwhelming. So if you haven't heard of the Rape Academy, basically it's an online platform. It's called Motherless or something like that. I don't know why, but it's a massive site. Like I said, 62 million visits in February or March, 81 million visits the next month. It's where men are sharing tips and tricks for non-consensual rape of their significant others through drugs and things like that. And they're teaching each other how to manipulate their significant others, drug them, assault them, film them, and charge other men to watch and or participate. Not strangers, not teaching them how to assault strangers, but teaching them how to assault their partners, the mothers of their kids. And honestly, because of everything I've been through, it didn't shock me. No, it did a little bit. But it did confirm something for me that I didn't want to believe is true fully. I was not ready to believe fully that all men are violent. Just blanket statement, all men. I've been someone who's been clear whenever I've made any content that has critiqued men and their violence. I've been pretty clear to say, well, not all men. I've been someone who said not all men, because I actually do physically, personally know some men who I don't think are capable of that kind of violence. I have met good men in my life. I've never been romantically partnered with any of them, but I know some of them, including people who like my good friends are married to. Like, I feel like I do know that there are good men in the world, and I've experienced some of them in like work contexts and things like that. There is something about this like recent news cycle that made me think, don't ever let your guard down, ever. Don't ever, ever, ever let your guard down, and don't let another cis heterosexual man be close to you ever again. Ever. And then I saw this prayer by this Black woman on a Instagram reel, and I want to play it for you because I thought it was really beautiful. It's called Banish the Fantasy of Male Protection. This is incredibly powerful. Please listen and take it in.
I banish the fantasy of male protection. I banish the false god of man. I banish the pedestalization of men. I free you from the spell of maleness. I free you from the lies of the patriarchy. I banish all male gaslighting. I banish. You are freed from assisting your attacker. I loose and banish the shackles on your mind. I expose the triple-headed snake of its origins, whether it comes from our homes, our religions, or the culture, meaning our movies, songs, and stories. I banish belief in men at the expense of ourselves. I seal off the entryway from our homes where the fantasy of male superiority held us captive, where we slept, pretending, propping up, colluding to create a man who didn't even exist. No benevolent patriarch, no protector, no provider. I banish the fantasy of male protection. I banish the fantasy that trades a woman's real divinity for a man's false divinity. We bleed for days. We negotiate with death to give life. We bear wounds to save this reality. We return over and over again and feed a multitude with small provisions. I banish belief in men at the expense of ourselves. I banish the fantasy of men. You are freed from assisting your attacker, free from kneeling at the guillotine, free from assembling your own gallows. I banish the shackles on your mind. I banish lies about men. I banish male-centeredness. And finally, I banish the lie that he is not capable of murdering you. Your son is capable. Your brother is capable. Your uncle, your pastor, your imam, your rabbi, and yes, your husband is capable. I banish the fantasy of male protection. I release you from the lamb to a slaughter spell that has made you value a man's life above your own.
After I heard that prayer, it just really hit me. I think there was something about the end of her prayer where she said, don't believe the lie that your sons are not capable of killing you, or however she worded it, I forgot, but you get the sentiment. And I have never had that thought before in my life. It's never even occurred to me. I have a 20-year-old son and I have a 16-year-old son. My sons, they're good kids, they're normal good kids. They've never raised a hand at me, let alone struck me or done anything violent to me ever. Well, there was one time where my son threw a Twizzler at my face from across the room. I asked him to hand me a Twizzler and he threw it. He whipped a Twizzler at me from like really far away. He wasn't trying to hurt me. He thought I was going to catch it. But outside of that, literally the most violence I've ever experienced from my sons, and they're not violent people. But at the same time, when she said that, I thought, I don't want to think that way. And my sons have never given me any reason to think that way. But at the same time, right, I get the sentiment that she's trying to say is that we need to banish the fantasy of male protection in all directions. And if I myself personally, I know this isn't true for every woman, but if I had not experienced sexual violence and physical violence from my dad and my brother and one of my husbands and a boyfriend who I thought really loved me and a date rape, it might be a little bit easier for me to just write that off. But I think the sentiment is what she's saying is valid and it's powerful. And I think for a long time, I've kind of had the buffer of compartmentalizing, especially as someone who kind of grew up in evangelical Christianity and with the whole idea of like your husband being like the head of the household. And there is an implication in that when you're raised in those teachings for many, many years, the implication is you can trust him. Whether you believe that or not, that was the implication. If you marry a man and you're allowing him to be the head of your household, then certainly you can trust that he will not kill you. That's a first just assumption that we're making. And I think something, even though I have since left evangelical Christianity, I have decolonized and divested from evangelicalism in general, and my faith walk is very, very different. There is something in me that I still had like a little bit of a compartmentalization that I could have, even in some ways towards my first husband, which there's some complicatedness there, which I won't get into, but I had a feeling of here's some men, not all men. But after the news, after I saw that prayer, something in me said, I don't know if I believe that anymore. Maybe it is all of them. Maybe it is. The shift for me was not so much now I'm saying every man is dangerous, every single man, including my sons. I wouldn't say that about them because I know them personally, but I'm saying where I'm landing now is I don't feel safe assuming anymore that any man is not dangerous and capable of profound evil, and that there is almost no accountability for men, not amongst themselves, not in any sort of widespread way. Maybe here or there, a man will call out another man for being misogynistic or whatever. But for the most part, they have allegiance to one another. And I no longer feel safe anymore assuming any of them are not fully dangerous. Unfortunately, this is the timeline that we're in, and this is where I'm landing. And I don't care if you're a man watching this, if it hurts your feelings. I don't fucking care, because I seriously doubt that you could respond back to me and say, hey, here is how I have tried to hold other men accountable for the tremendous harm that they have done to the women in their life. I literally just talked to... It's sad. I literally just talked to a man yesterday who was telling me of some things that he had to cover for a man in his life who was doing horrible things that his wife didn't know about. And he was telling me, yeah, I was covering for him. And I won't go into the other story, but another man in my life who was telling me something similar. Essentially, almost all of them, they have a sense of allegiance to each other, no matter what kind of violence that they're doing to women. It's so profoundly disappointing. I'm opting out. Your girl is opting the fuck out. I am not raising my daughter to believe that men are protectors and providers and leaders. No way in hell. That's how I was raised. What that got me was into 2 marriages that I was so unhappy and felt so unprotected in and out. And for me to be taught for all of these years that these are the men who are supposed to protect me, the men in my life romantically, the 4 major relationships I've had, the one before I got married, both my marriages and the one after, are all of where all of the most abuse and assault happened. Those 4 major relationships of my life. And that's directly following an abusive father and an abusive brother. And then 4 back-to-back relationships were spanning the course of my life. That spans 40 years. 40 years of experiencing violence at the hand of 4 men who in some way told me they loved me, promised they loved me, promised to take care of me, etc., etc., etc. I'm opting out. I don't care anymore. I can't care anymore. I can't trust y'all no more. All I can do at this point, as a mother of 2 young men who I'm trying desperately to not have any sort of influence by the red pill society, by incels, by the manosphere. I'm trying so hard. And I have tried, like, since they were born. This is not something new where I'm just like, hey, please be a good man now that they're 16 and 20. I've been saying the same things to them since as early as I could possibly do it. So I have been on this track. The only thing I can do is try to help them be good men who are not violent to women. And I'm telling y'all, as a mother in 2026, trying to navigate this with two young men, 16 and 20, the way that society has taught them to think about things is so detrimental and so destructive, and that I'm constantly trying to push up against it. And it's frightening. It's frightening. It's frightening. It has led me to tears many nights. And these are good kids. My sons are good kids. I know every mom says that, but I mean, they really are. And still, some of the mindsets they have that society has given them, I'm having a real hard time weeding it out of them. Now, honestly, it could be in part because anything mom says they're going to go against. You know, if I said, why don't you guys go out and do heroin? They'd be like, ew, I don't want to do heroin. Because I'm saying it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I do think that's part of it, is that just because I'm telling them that, maybe their age is like they want to go against what I'm saying. But it's frightening time to be a parent to a man. I'll just say that. I don't know where y'all are landing with this, but I do feel like I'm rethinking how to even date casually. Like, do I want to even date for fun? I have kind of been in this place where I'm like, I'm decentering men, but I still do enjoy going out. I still do enjoy having fun. I still enjoy casual sex here and there. But yeah, I don't know if I can do that no more. I don't even know if I can do that anymore. I think this is not so much, this whole issue for all of us is not about whether or not we hate men. It really isn't. It's about, it's time that we believe women, like fully believe women. We are not more paranoid. I think women, some of the narrative that men are pushing back on is like women are being paranoid. They're never going to get over this, or saying that we're man haters or whatever. It's not that. We're just becoming more aware and more realistic. And all of this lately has made me way more realistic. Like, girl, what is you doing? What is you doing? Because you have this man over your house. Now you feel like you can't even tell him you don't want to see him no more because you're afraid of what kind of retribution he might do. Lord, it's a sad place to be. I mean, it's a helpful wake up call at the same time too. I just don't think that I can pretend anymore personally that I feel safe at all with any man who I let get close to me. I can't pretend that anymore. If you're a man watching this and you've got this far, I saw this post on Instagram the other day, and it basically said that it was like a woman who, her and her husband were having dinner with another couple, and somebody said something about men being violent, and one of the guys said, oh, well, not all men, or something. And her husband stepped in and said, hey, listen, do you want to swim with sharks? Not all sharks are going to eat you. Not all sharks are going to bite you. But do you want to swim with them? And the guy was like, no. And he was like, right, because you don't know which shark is going to eat you. You don't know which shark is going to kill you. And he was like, it's the same way with women. They don't really believe that it's all men, every single man, 100% of the time. It's the fact that they just don't know which ones. And basically the post was like, men, hey, here is how you advocate for women. And don't make it seem like women are over the top. Don't make it seem like women are doing too much. Don't make it seem like women are just being out here unrealistic. They're not. They literally don't know which ones are going to kill them. And the closer you allow a man into your life as your boyfriend, your fiance, your husband, whatever, the more likely he is to be the one who unalives you. So it's really a very terrible predicament that we're in. And when men complain about us complaining about it, it's really, well, it's just proof. It's like, oh, okay, so you're letting me know that you're one of the men who would sit by and let a man do something violent because you don't believe women and you don't hear us. I realize that this is really heavy stuff that I talked about today. And if anything I said today, like really hit you or triggered you in a real specific way, in a way that you could really feel in your body, I just want to say, first of all, you're not alone. You know, unfortunately, what I've been through and what you may have been through, like, we're not anomalies. The number of women who've been sexually assaulted is astronomically high. Is it like 2 out of 5 or 2 out of 4? I mean, it's a lot. And as I've mentioned before, one of the things that has really helped me process my trauma over the years is writing it out. And another thing that has really helped me, I guess, with my ADHD brain or whatever, is having other people give me prompts. So I have done a lot of things. I've used a lot of healing modalities, as I've told y'all before, including EMDR therapy, including talk therapy, including meditation, including getting out in nature, including having best friends and being in almost constant communication with women in my life. There's a lot of things that I have done to try to heal from the multiple traumas I've been through. But one of the ones that has been standard for me is journaling and getting out my thoughts and having prompts asked to me to help me unearth those thoughts. And that is part of why I created a journal, because I'm so passionate about the process of reflection, but not just any reflection, intentional reflection. So I created something called the Out Here Trying to Survive journal, which I will post right here. And it's not about fixing everything. It's just about giving yourself a safe space to sit and think about some of the stuff, maybe why it's bothering you, what you're wanting that is different for your life, that's not quite there yet, but you know you want and or need. And it's going to help you make sense of things as you unpack it little by little, because it's something where you can check in every day. So if you need that, it is there for you. It's available in my Stan store. And of course, I will have it linked below. And it will be in the show notes if you're listening on the podcast only. I want to thank y'all so much for coming by today. Please sign up for my Substack and you can get all of the updates. If you're not yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. And I will see y'all on my next episode. Bye.